Did her loudness kill her? That is the question a lot of people are asking about Sara Gilson, a woman that lost her life on July 23, 2026 after making a viral TikTok video accusing her husband of a pedophile barely 2 weeks ago. Welcome to Star Life with Precious, where we cover celebrity news, drama, and the crime stories that leave everyone talking. On July 11, 2026, a 43-year-old hairstylist and TikTok creator with tens of thousands of followers sat in front of a camera and did something many people would never do in public. She looked straight into the lens and said her soon-to-be ex-husband was a pedophile. She framed it like the opening of a Netflix documentary. The caption was short and cutting. "I wish I was joking." Less than 2 weeks later, Sara Gilson was dead. Police in Owasso, Oklahoma, found her and her estranged husband, Jeremiah Sean Duffy, both dead from gunshot wounds inside her home. A child who lived there made the 911 call. Investigators say the evidence points to an apparent murder-suicide. Duffy shot Sara, then shot himself. So the question keeps circulating online. If she had stayed quiet, would she still be alive? Let's slow down and look at what actually happened. Sara Gilson was a mother of 2. She worked as a hairstylist and built a lifestyle and beauty presence on TikTok. She posted about products she actually used, shared everyday moments, and kept a following that trusted her. She was not a massive celebrity, but she had a real audience. People who watched her, believed her, and felt like they knew her. Her relationship with Sean Duffy had been troubled for years. Her first husband, Loudness, the father of her 2 children, later told reporters he had begged her for 5 years to leave Duffy. He said the relationship involved control and domestic abuse that somehow started to feel normal to her. He offered help. She stayed. Court records show she had sought protective orders against Duffy before, including in 2021. Those earlier orders eventually expired. The pattern of fear and contact continued. Then came June 2026. On June 9th, a teenage girl and her parent reported that Duffy, who coached the girls' traveling basketball team, had inappropriately touched her during an event at an elementary school. The next day, Sara filed for and received an emergency protective order. Duffy was ordered to stay away from the house and stay at least 100 yards from her. For a short time, the legal system put distance between them. On July 11th, Sara went public. She posted the TikTok. She named the accusation. She used the popular Netflix documentary format that was trending at the time. The video spread. People who followed her saw a woman saying out loud what she had just learned about the man she was trying to leave. Many believed her immediately. That is the power of a large personal audience on TikTok. When someone who feels familiar makes a serious claim, a lot of viewers accept it as truth without waiting for court documents or formal charges. The video did not create the danger. The danger was already there. But it did something else. It made the conflict public, permanent, and visible to everyone, including the man she was accusing. You're watching Star Life with Precious. 12 days later, on the night of July 23rd, the situation turned fatal. According to reports, officers responded to screaming and what sounded like a gunshot. Sara's underage son called 911 from a neighbor's house and reported that his stepfather had shot his mother. Both adults were found dead. Police have described the deaths as an apparent murder-suicide. The investigation into the earlier allegation against Duffy was still ongoing at the time of the shooting. It had been referred for review. Friends remembered Sara's last day as ordinary and even happy. Now the question returns. Did her loudness kill her? And this is where the story becomes complicated. Some people may argue that Sara had every right to speak. She had thousands of followers. She had a platform. She was going through what she believed was a serious and frightening situation, and she chose to tell her story publicly. From that point of view, why should she have stayed silent? If a person believes they are in danger, shouldn't they be allowed to speak about their experiences and seek help? But others may see the situation differently. They may argue that publicly accusing someone of being a pedophile is one of the most serious allegations a person can make, especially when that person is also known publicly through their work and relationships. An accusation like that can have consequences far beyond a private relationship. It can affect someone's reputation. It can affect how friends, family, and the public see them. And once thousands of people hear an accusation online, it can be almost impossible to take those words back. Even if the legal process has not yet reached a conclusion, the public may have already made up its mind. And that is where some viewers may ask, did Sara understand how powerful her platform was? Did she realize that one TikTok could reach thousands of people? Did she understand the possible consequences of publicly making such a serious accusation against someone who was part of her personal life? Or was she simply using the only voice she felt she had? Then there is another side to this debate. Sara had reportedly obtained a protective order. So from another perspective, perhaps the TikTok was not the beginning of the danger at all. Perhaps the danger was already there. Perhaps the public video was simply one more moment in a much larger conflict that had already become serious enough to involve the legal system. And this is where the conversation becomes difficult. Because if we say that Sara should have remained silent, are we placing responsibility on her for what happened afterward? Are we saying that a woman should stay quiet because speaking publicly might anger the person she is afraid of? Or should we instead be asking why a person who has already sought legal protection can still find themselves vulnerable? These are two very different ways of looking at the same story. One side may say, she should have let the legal process handle it. The other side may respond, she had a right to tell her story. And somewhere in the middle is the uncomfortable reality of social media. When you have thousands of followers, your words carry weight. A private conversation between two people can disappear. A TikTok can be watched, recorded, downloaded, shared, and discussed by thousands of strangers. And when the accusation is as serious as the one Sara reportedly made, the impact can be enormous. So here's another question for you. If someone publicly accuses another person of a serious crime before the legal process has reached a conclusion, should they be free to tell their story to thousands of followers? Or should they be more cautious because of the possible consequences? And what if both people involved are public figures or have a significant public presence? Does that change the situation? Should a public figure have the same right to speak publicly about a private conflict as anyone else? Or does having a large audience come with the responsibility to think carefully about what you say, especially when the accusation could permanently damage another person's reputation? These are difficult questions, and there may not be one simple answer, because Sara's supporters could argue that she was speaking about something she genuinely believed was happening, and that she had every right to protect herself and her children. But someone on the other side might argue that publicly attaching an extremely serious label to another person can have consequences that go far beyond the original relationship. And then there is the question of timing. Sara reportedly made the TikTok accusation shortly before her death. That timing is going to make people look closely at everything that happened during those final days. Was the TikTok simply Sara speaking out? Did it escalate tensions that were already present? Or was the situation already so serious that the TikTok itself made little difference? We don't know. And this is where we have to be careful not to confuse a timeline with a cause. The fact that Sara made a public accusation and later died does not, by itself, prove that one caused the other. But it is understandable that people will examine the sequence of events and ask questions. And perhaps the biggest question is this: when does speaking out become dangerous? Sara had a voice. She had an audience. And she chose to use both. Some people may see that as courage. Others may see it as a decision that carried risks she could not have fully anticipated. But should we really be asking whether she should have been quieter? Or should we be asking why anyone who seeks protection can still remain vulnerable? That is where this story becomes bigger than one TikTok video. It becomes a conversation about social media. It becomes a conversation about public accusations. It becomes a conversation about reputation. It becomes a conversation about domestic violence and protective orders. And it becomes a conversation about how quickly a private relationship can become a public battle when thousands of people are watching. We will never know what would have happened if Sara had chosen not to make that TikTok. And that is the problem with looking backward. We can imagine different outcomes, but imagination is not evidence. What we do know is that Sara had reportedly obtained a protective order, serious allegations had been made publicly, and police say her death appears to have been part of a murder-suicide involving her estranged husband. The investigation is ongoing, and there are still questions that may only be answered as more facts emerge. So, I want to leave this question with you. Do you think Sara's decision to publicly accuse her estranged husband was an act of courage and a way of protecting herself and her children? Or do you believe that making such a serious accusation publicly, in front of thousands of followers, may have escalated an already dangerous situation? And here's the question I really want you to think about. If you were in Sara's position, would you have stayed silent and allowed the legal process to play out? Or would you have used your platform to tell thousands of people your side of the story? There is no easy answer. And perhaps that is why this story continues to raise so many questions. Sara spoke publicly. She used her voice. And now, after her death, people are left debating whether that voice was a form of protection, a source of danger, or simply the voice of a woman who wanted to be heard. What do you think? Did Sara's loudness put her in greater danger? Or is that question unfairly placing the focus on her instead of the person responsible for the violence? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But remember, this is a real tragedy involving real people. The allegations discussed in this story should not be treated as proven facts unless they are established through evidence and the legal process. You've been watching Star Life with Precious, where we bring you breaking news, celebrity stories, celebrity drama, and crime stories that keep the world talking. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. I'm Precious, and I'll see you in the next story.